Family is supposed to be your safe place. It's supposed to be the one circle you can trust until the night they turn on you, and every secret becomes a weapon. It happened during my father's birthday dinner, under the warm glow of the Hartman chandelier. I was pouring coffee for my mother, half listening to Cole and Brianna's laughter at the other end of the table, when my world suddenly tipped on its axis. Cole stood up, glass raised, his voice trembling with emotion, a performance honed over years. "I need to say something." The room fell silent. I glanced up, expecting a toast, but the look in his eyes was colder than I'd ever seen. He turned to me, his face the picture of heartbreak. "Emily, I never wanted to believe you'd do this to us. But I can't ignore the truth anymore." He placed a folder on the table and slid it toward my father. Brianna leaned in, eyes shining with false sympathy. "We're so sorry, but we can't keep quiet." "Not after what we found." My father opened the folder, his hands shaking. Inside were printed emails, transaction receipts, pages and pages, all stamped with my name. "Emily," he whispered. "What is this?" The room was ice. My mother shrank back from my touch. Guests exchanged nervous glances. I stared at the papers, my own name at the top, numbers I didn't recognize, accusations jumping off the page, embezzlement, fraud, betrayal. My heart slammed against my ribs. I tried to speak, but no words came out. Cole's voice broke the silence. "We trusted you with everything. How could you steal from your own family?" Suddenly I was on trial, every face around the table turning away, every comforting memory twisted into suspicion. Brianna's hand covered her mouth in feigned horror. The walls of my childhood home felt as if they were closing in. And in that moment, I realized family can turn into strangers with a single lie. That was the night my family decided I didn't belong. Long before that night, the Hartman family looked perfect from the outside. We lived on Maple Avenue, in a big white house with a wraparound porch and flower beds my mother tended herself. Every 4th of July, our flag waved proud above the street. Neighbors would nod, whispering, "That's a real American family, solid, close, successful." And for years, we played our parts. But cracks ran deep beneath that polished surface. I'm Emily Hartman, the eldest child, 38 years old. I grew up as the responsible one, the daughter who never caused trouble, the student whose report cards made teachers smile, the one who balanced family checkbooks while my friends went to summer camp. My brown hair was always pulled back, my shirts freshly ironed, my smile careful but never fake. When my father, James, needed something fixed at the office or at home, I was his first call. My mother, Linda, taught me that strength meant always being the one who held everyone else together, even when it hurt. My younger brother Cole was the golden child. 4 years my junior, Cole breezed through life with the kind of charm you can't teach. Quick-witted, disarming, a smile that won over teachers, police officers, and family friends alike. He was tall, athletic, hair just messy enough to look intentional. But he struggled to finish things: college, jobs, relationships. More than once, I covered his tracks, paying off credit cards, smoothing over missed rent, making excuses when he failed to show up. Then came Brianna. Cole met her at a charity gala, and the world seemed to stop for both of them. Brianna was beautiful, blonde hair and loose curls, clear blue eyes, and a wardrobe that belonged in the glossy pages of a fashion magazine. My parents adored her from the first handshake. She brought energy, ambition, and just enough sweetness to hide her sharp edges. Family dinners became her stage. With every smile and compliment, she spun herself deeper into our circle, until it seemed Cole and Brianna were the new center of gravity. Still, the old wounds never healed. My parents, growing older, dreamed of unity. They clung to the idea that family could survive anything: money problems, jealousies, lost dreams. But whenever talk turned to inheritance or my father's will, something dark crept into the room. Voices would rise, plates pushed away, and someone, usually Cole, would leave in anger. It was easier to pretend we were whole. I buried myself in work, built a quiet life. My parents kept busy with church, neighbors, grand plans for Hartman traditions. Cole and Brianna threw parties, bought new cars, and when the bills piled up, my parents bailed them out. Looking back, the warning signs were everywhere. The missing checks, the secretive phone calls, the way my mother's smile never quite reached her eyes when Brianna arrived with expensive gifts. But denial is a powerful thing. It's easy to believe in family until belief is no longer enough. So when Cole stood up at my father's birthday, folder in hand, and accused me of crimes I hadn't committed, it wasn't really a beginning. It was the result of years spent ignoring the truth. Because underneath the perfect facade, the Hartman family was always teetering on the edge. And the night trust broke, everything we built fell apart. Shock, I've learned, doesn't come all at once. It's slow, a series of small, sharp stings that, over days, leave you raw and sleepless. In the week after Cole and Brianna's accusations, I drifted through life in a kind of fog. My phone blew up with messages from relatives and old friends, some worried, some curious, some quietly gleeful. I barely ate, barely slept, replaying every moment of that night until the memory felt like a bad dream stuck on repeat. I was desperate for answers. If I didn't fight back, the story Cole and Brianna invented would become reality, cemented in every email, every look from my parents, every rumor whispered at church. My only lifeline was Megan, my next-door neighbor and best friend. Megan was the kind of friend who brought you soup when you were sick and stood in the rain with you just to make sure you were really okay. She let me crash on her couch when my house felt haunted by shame. One morning, Megan walked into her kitchen to find me hunched over a pile of old receipts, my hands trembling with exhaustion and fury. "Emily, you're not alone," she said, pouring coffee. "But you have to get smart. They're counting on you falling apart. Don't let them win." And she was right. I wiped my tears and started looking, really looking. The first clue came when I noticed several withdrawals from the family's shared inheritance account, amounts I never authorized, dates when I was out of town. I pulled up email notifications, but a few had mysteriously disappeared from my inbox. I checked the trash folder. Nothing. Megan suggested we log into my father's desktop computer, which he never locked. Sure enough, a pattern emerged. All the missing money went to an account labeled house renovation, yet our house hadn't seen a contractor in years. The transactions bore a digital signature, mine, but I'd never signed anything. Late that night, Megan texted me a screenshot. "Look at this." Brianna posted on Instagram about a secret project, the day after the biggest withdrawal. In the photo, Brianna was smiling with a new luxury bag, hashtagging a new beginnings. The clues piled up. I remembered overhearing a tense argument between Cole and Brianna about timing and proof. I'd thought nothing of it. Now, every odd look, every conversation that stopped when I walked in, felt sinister. I checked my own text logs. A week before the accusations, Brianna had borrowed my phone, claiming hers was dead. I hadn't thought twice. But now, I wondered if she'd sent something or deleted a message while I wasn't looking. Desperate, I scoured my email archive, searching for contracts or authorizations that didn't match my memory. In 2 separate files, I found digital forms that bore my name, but the signature was off, pixelated, slightly crooked, the work of a hasty forgery. I printed everything. Megan read over my shoulder, brow furrowed. "This is good, Emily, but you need more. They'll just say you're paranoid." You need a pattern, a timeline, and you need to know why. We worked late into the night, drawing diagrams across Megan's kitchen table. Every arrow, every note pointed back to Brianna, her Instagram stories, her shopping sprees, the sudden influx of cash, her constant hovering at family meetings. But Cole was always in the background, smiling, cracking jokes, making my parents forget anything could ever be wrong. Megan pressed me to dig deeper. Has Brianna ever worked in finance? I nodded. She interned at a local bank after college. She knows how these systems work. And that explained the sophistication, the careful deletion of emails, the digital forging of receipts, the subtle shifting of blame onto me. By Friday, Megan and I had built a dossier, copies of every suspicious withdrawal, screenshots of deleted messages, photos of Brianna's high-priced purchases, and records of every login to the family accounts. I began to remember the small betrayals, the times Cole let me take the blame, the way Brianna smiled a little too sweetly when my parents praised her for handling difficult situations. The memories stung, but they also made me furious. I realized that, for years, I'd been trained to take the fall. This time, I wouldn't, but I also knew I needed help. I called Mr. Rowland, our longtime family accountant, and asked if we could meet privately. He agreed, his voice grave but supportive. Emily, I've had concerns too. Let's look at everything together. For the first time since the nightmare began, hope sparked in my chest. This was no longer about clearing my name. It was about exposing the truth and making sure no one could twist it ever again. Some moments are seared into your memory forever. The sting of betrayal, the echo of voices turned cold, the way a single accusation can split a life in two. For me, it all came to a head at the Greenwood Country Club, under crystal chandeliers and polite applause. It was supposed to be a family celebration, my father's birthday, our annual summer tradition. Brianna orchestrated everything, the guest list, the decorations, even the seating chart. Everyone who mattered in our social circle was there, extended family, old friends, neighbors, business associates. Megan squeezed my hand as we arrived, offering a reassuring smile. "You're not alone," she whispered. But even before dinner began, I felt something off. The room buzzed with a tension I couldn't name. Cole was unusually formal, barely looking at me. Brianna flitted from table to table, a perfect hostess with a dazzling smile, but her eyes never softened when they met mine. Dinner passed in a blur. My father toasted to family and new beginnings, his voice thick with emotion. I forced a smile, raising my glass with everyone else, but my heart beat too fast. My mother's gaze flickered between me and Brianna, worry buried under a practiced smile. After dessert, Brianna stood and tapped her glass, the sound slicing through the room. "If I may," she said, voice sweet and clear, "there's something our family needs to address tonight." Cole rose beside her, his hand shaking ever so slightly as he took a folder from his jacket. The crowd quieted, all eyes on us. "Emily," Brianna continued, "this isn't easy, but we can't keep pretending nothing happened." Cole flipped open the folder and began passing out copies, emails, receipts, documents covered in my name and signature. "I wish this wasn't true." But the numbers don't lie," he said. "We have to protect the family's legacy." People started reading, eyes widening. I scanned the first page and felt my stomach drop. Fake transactions, altered signatures, numbers I'd never seen before, all designed to make me look guilty. My father paled, clutching the papers. "Emily, how could you do this?" My mother's voice trembled. "We trusted you." A hush fell. Every conversation, every laugh, died away. I tried to speak. "This isn't me, there's a mistake." But Brianna cut me off, her voice trembling with false sorrow. "We have witnesses, Emily." The bank confirmed the signatures. There are emails from your account? A neighbor leaned over, whispering. Megan rose in my defense. You all know Emily. She'd never do this. Let her explain, but the tide was against me. Brianna produced a flash drive and plugged it into the club's projector. On the screen appeared a slideshow of documents, withdrawal forms, bank statements, damning emails. Gasps rippled across the room. Cole's voice broke. You were my sister. I wanted to believe you. But I can't ignore the evidence. Panic clawed at my throat. I searched the faces around me, some hard, some pitying, most closed off. No one stood up, not even my parents. The club manager approached me, face blank. Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. The police have been notified. For a moment, I just stared at him, frozen. This was my family, my world, turning on me in public, without even asking for the truth. Security guided me out, the room spinning, my vision blurring with humiliation and rage. Megan chased after me, pulling me into her arms as we stepped into the cool night air. I believe you, she whispered fiercely. We'll fix this. But inside, I felt shattered. My name was mud, my reputation in ruins, and my heart pounded with a mixture of fury and shame. I couldn't even cry. The only thing I felt was the burning need to clear my name. Later that night, alone in my apartment, I stared at the ceiling, the echoes of my family's accusations ringing in my ears. My phone buzzed with new messages, some cruel, some curious, some heartbreakingly silent. I replayed every detail, every accusation, every false smile from Brianna. The public humiliation was complete. I was no longer just accused, I was branded. But in the quiet, as rage slowly replaced humiliation, I made a vow they could take my family, my reputation, even my home. But they would not take my voice. Not now. Not ever. This was the moment I stopped being a victim. It was the night I decided to fight back, with truth, with proof, and with every ounce of strength I had left. Shame is a stubborn thing. It sticks to your skin long after everyone else has forgotten the scandal, whispering that maybe you really are who they think you are. For days after the country club disaster, I barely left my apartment. Sleep was impossible. I replayed the scene again and again, my mother's trembling voice, my father's look of disappointment, Brianna's crocodile tears, and Cole's steady, accusing glare. Was I really so easy to frame? How could I have missed all the signs? The doubt became a poison, leaking into every memory, old family dinners, birthdays, even childhood holidays. I questioned everything, my own sense of judgment, my instincts, even my worth. Megan was the only person who refused to let me disappear into self-pity. She showed up every morning with coffee and a new plan. We're not giving up. Emily! Not until you have your life back. And she forced me to eat, made me walk in the park, and insisted I keep looking at the evidence. One afternoon, sitting at my kitchen table surrounded by stacks of receipts, printouts, and a half-dead laptop, I let the anger in. Why should I be the one to hide? I blurted. Why am I the only one who has to prove anything? Megan nodded. That's the spirit. If they want to play games, let's give them a fight they'll never forget. So we dug in. Every receipt, every transfer, every strange email Brianna had sent me. I started to see patterns, payments that happened when I was provably out of town, email authorizations I never remembered signing, small details like a typo in my middle name or a signature that just didn't look right. We made a list of questions. Where were Cole and Brianna during each suspicious transaction? Who had access to my email and accounts? Could any camera footage at the bank or our family office prove where I was? Megan suggested reaching out to our family's accountant, Mr. Rowland, in secret. If anyone could spot discrepancies, it was him. The first time I called Mr. Rowland, my hands shook, but his voice was gentle, warm, reassuring. Emily, I've known you since you were a child. I never believed what they said. Bring me everything. With renewed determination, Megan and I gathered every document we could find, bank statements, printouts, even screenshots of Brianna's Instagram stories that coincided with large withdrawals. I called the bank and requested security camera footage from the days of the biggest transactions. Piece by piece, the puzzle started to come together. Mr. Rowland was relentless. He identified a digital fingerprint in the bank's authorization system, one that matched Brianna's work computer, not mine. He flagged a suspicious change of address form filed from an IP address registered to Cole's apartment. For the first time in weeks, I felt hope rising. The shame, while not gone, started to lift, replaced by a sense of purpose. I wasn't going to let a lie define the rest of my life. I was done hiding. If my family had chosen to believe a fantasy, I would fight with facts, with allies, and with a strength I'd forgotten I had. The search for truth had begun. And this time, I wouldn't stop until everyone else saw it too. Every turning point in my story seemed to come with a new, unexpected ally. For me, that was Mr. Rowland, the family's accountant for decades, a man whose loyalty had always seemed quiet and unwavering. His office was a small, windowless space stacked high with files and smelling of old paper and leather. The day Megan and I arrived, I saw something in his eyes that surprised me, not pity, but the sharp focus of someone who knew he was about to expose a crime. We started by laying out every document we had on his broad oak desk, statements, emails, even screenshots from Brianna's social media. Mr. Rowland worked methodically, tapping a pencil against his chin as he scanned every page. He quickly flagged withdrawals that coincided with Brianna's expensive shopping trips and pointed out digital signatures that looked almost perfect but for one telltale flaw, a curve in the E that matched her handwriting, not mine. Let's check device access, he suggested. He explained that each online authorization left behind a trail, a device ID, and location logged for every transaction. I watched, holding my breath, as he traced suspicious logins to Cole's apartment and a device that had never been linked to my accounts. If we need to, we can subpoena the internet provider, he said quietly, and get the exact address. Megan, tireless as ever, scoured the cloud for deleted emails and found dozens forwarded from my account to Brianna's private address. One particularly damning message discussed next steps for the inheritance, dated just days before the accusation. She even tracked down a photo from Brianna's Instagram, showing a contract on their kitchen counter with a forged version of my signature, posted the same day as one of the biggest withdrawals. We created a timeline, piecing together each transaction, every digital fingerprint, each fake signature. Megan color-coded suspicious payments, and Mr. Rowland double-checked them against family bank records. My heart pounded as the story unfolded, a web of deceit and greed, orchestrated carefully by Brianna, with Cole always nearby, playing innocent. One afternoon, Mr. Rowland paused over a withdrawal slip that had supposedly been notarized by a woman we'd known since childhood. He made a quick phone call, and she answered from hundreds of miles away. She was on vacation the entire week the document was stamped. She emailed us her travel receipts as proof. Mr. Rowland looked up, his voice hard for the first time. This is criminal. They forged everything. The next step was delicate, getting law enforcement involved without tipping off Cole and Brianna. Mr. Rowland reached out to a trusted contact at the police department and shared a confidential copy of our growing file. The officer, after reviewing everything, called the case textbook fraud and identity theft. But he advised us to gather every last bit of evidence before going public, in case the suspects tried to destroy anything or manipulate the story. We weren't done yet. With Mr. Rowland's guidance, I requested video footage from the bank branch where the largest withdrawal was made. It took some persuasion, but the manager agreed after learning about the police interest. When Megan and I watched the video, my breath caught. The footage clearly showed Brianna at the counter, forging my signature, while Cole loitered by the door, fidgeting and glancing at his phone. That night, Megan and I sat at my kitchen table, surrounded by receipts and printouts, both stunned and oddly exhilarated. It was overwhelming, proof not just of my innocence, but of a conspiracy so detailed that it bordered on obsession. Still, I felt a chill knowing how close I'd come to losing everything. Brianna must have sensed a shift. She started texting late at night, her tone syrupy, full of apologies and pleas for understanding. "I'm so sorry, Emily. I never wanted this to get so out of hand. Can't we just move past it?" Cole tried a different tactic, warning Megan to mind her own business and threatening to involve lawyers if we didn't back off. The desperation in their messages only made us more determined. With every piece of evidence we gathered, their grip on the story weakened. I stopped feeling powerless. I started to realize that the truth, when told completely and without shame, could drown out even the loudest lie. Finally, the police confirmed they were ready to act. We assembled our final file, the timeline, the bank video, the notary's confirmation, the emails, the device logs, even screenshots of Brianna's Instagram posts flaunting her newfound wealth. Mr. Rowland promised to testify and offered to support me every step of the way. As I looked at the stack of evidence, so much pain and betrayal boiled down to papers and pixels, I felt a kind of quiet strength settle inside me. I wasn't just defending myself anymore. I was fighting for the truth, for every person who had ever been silenced by someone else's lies. The next family gathering was coming. This time, I'd walk in not as the accused, but as the storm that would finally tear down their facade. The day of the Hartman family's next big gathering arrived with a heavy sky, clouds hovering just above the Greenwood Country Club as if the world itself sensed what was coming. I barely slept the night before, rehearsing each step, every word, and every possible outcome in my mind. But by morning, I felt more alive than I had in months. Megan drove, her knuckles white on the steering wheel. "No turning back," she said, her voice low but steady. "Not today." I nodded, clutching my folder packed with receipts, video evidence, and the truth that had nearly destroyed me. As we entered the club, the crowd's reaction was immediate. Some people whispered, some looked away. A few even smiled awkwardly as if unsure which side to choose. Brianna, flawless in a fitted red dress, moved around the room with her usual confidence, but there was a flicker of fear in her eyes each time she glanced at me. Cole stood near our parents, jaw tight, one foot tapping anxiously. My mother and father looked older, more fragile, weighed down by everything that had happened since that night. I let them all stew in suspense as the meal dragged on. My appetite was gone, but I forced myself to play the part, smiling, making polite conversation, refusing to let anyone see how much my hands trembled beneath the table. Mr. Rowland caught my eye from across the room and gave a subtle nod. It was time. When dessert plates were cleared, I stood up and gently tapped my glass. "Excuse me," I said, and the room fell silent, everyone watching. My voice was clear, steady, surprisingly strong. "Before this evening goes any further, there are some things we all need to see, things that should have been seen a long time ago." I walked to the front of the room and plugged in the USB drive. The first slide showed the forged receipts, signatures that matched Brianna's handwriting, not mine. Next, I displayed the bank's video footage, which played in grainy black and white. Brianna at the teller window, filling out forms in my name, Cole pacing by the entrance, glancing nervously toward the street. Gasps rippled through the crowd. I projected emails with IP addresses that matched Cole's apartment and showed the notary's travel records. which proved she couldn't possibly have witnessed the signature on that key document. Brianna's mask slipped first. "This is all taken out of context. She's obsessed with ruining us," she snapped, her voice high and brittle. Cole jumped in, his face red with anger. "Don't believe her. Emily's always been jealous of us, jealous of what we've built. She'll say anything to drag us down." I didn't flinch. "You can try to shout me down," I replied, "but you can't shout down the truth." I turned to our parents, my voice trembling. "Mom, Dad, I would never hurt you. All I wanted was to protect what our family built. But I won't stand by and let them destroy it from the inside out." My father's face crumpled with pain. My mother pressed a hand to her chest, her eyes full of tears. They both looked at Cole and Brianna, the disbelief settling in as the evidence built. Around us, guests whispered, some shaking their heads, some pulling out their phones, no doubt already texting updates to everyone they knew. Mr. Rowland stepped forward, standing at my side. "Everything you've seen tonight has been verified by outside authorities. Law enforcement is already involved." He signaled the club manager, who nodded. 2 police officers entered the room, their presence a silent warning. Brianna looked cornered. "You'll regret this, Emily. You could have kept quiet, and none of this would have happened." Cole tried a final bluff. "This is a family matter. You can't arrest us in front of everyone." The officers barely reacted. Cole and Brianna Hartman, one announced, "Please step outside with us." As they were led away, the room erupted in whispers and shocked exclamations. Some guests moved to comfort my parents. Others offered hurried apologies for ever doubting me. Megan hugged me so tightly I could barely breathe. Mr. Rowland squeezed my shoulder, pride shining in his eyes. When the room quieted, I spoke again. The truth was always there. It just took someone refusing to be silenced to bring it into the light. I didn't want to tear this family apart, but I wasn't going to let lies define me. And my father came forward, voice hoarse. "Emily, I'm sorry. We should have believed you from the start." My mother sobbed. "You saved us all, even if it cost you everything." That night, walking home beneath the clearing sky, I felt the weight of years lift from my shoulders. Justice was never about vengeance. It was about reclaiming my story and refusing to let fear or shame win. And as I drifted into sleep, for the first time since the nightmare began, I truly believed, no matter how dark the world becomes, the truth always finds a way through. In the days after the showdown, reality set in. Justice is not a sudden thunderclap, it's a slow, steady drumbeat. Cole and Brianna were charged with fraud, identity theft, and conspiracy. The news spread through town like wildfire. Old friends texted in shock, neighbors gossiped over garden fences, and my parents retreated behind closed blinds, embarrassed and heartsick. I had always imagined that vindication would feel triumphant. Instead, it was exhausting. There were police interviews, endless meetings with lawyers, and reporters calling at all hours. Some people still whispered, wondering what I'd done to deserve all this, if maybe the truth was somewhere in the middle. But most, when faced with the evidence, changed their tune. Brianna was the first to crack. In a desperate plea deal, she confessed to forging my signature and orchestrating the withdrawals. She tried to blame Cole, but the digital trail was too strong. Cole, ever the performer, tried to sway the jury with tearful statements, but his charm couldn't undo the facts. The judge's gavel rang out, final and uncompromising, guilty on all counts. My parents struggled in the aftermath. They apologized over and over, my mother sobbing at the kitchen table, my father unable to meet my gaze for days. "We wanted to believe the best of our son," he whispered. "We were blind to the worst." And I forgave them, but not easily. Some wounds, I learned, never fully heal. But I could see the relief in their faces as the days passed, the gratitude that the truth had come out, even if it cost us everything. My reputation took time to recover. I went back to work slowly, fielding awkward stares and polite questions. Some colleagues sent flowers, others kept their distance. Megan never left my side, and Mr. Rowland became a trusted confidant. The company, shaken by the scandal, doubled down on transparency and ethics. With my name cleared, I was offered my old position, but I hesitated. I was different now, sharper and less willing to tolerate dishonesty. One afternoon, as I packed away the last box of evidence, the district attorney called. "Emily, I want you to know your case is being used in training for financial fraud. You did everything right, even when no one believed you." The words landed softly but meant everything. I turned my attention to helping others. Megan and I began volunteering at a local nonprofit supporting victims of family financial abuse. For every story I heard, I saw another version of myself, the doubts, the self-blame, the heartbreak. I spoke to survivors, reminding them that shame is a weapon wielded by those in power, and the only way to break free is to fight for the truth. Cole and Brianna were sentenced to several years in prison. I went to the sentencing, not for revenge, but for closure. Brianna wouldn't meet my eyes. Cole tried to mouth, "I'm sorry," but I simply nodded. I wasn't there for them anymore. I was there for myself. That evening, my parents and I sat on the porch, the sun setting over the yard, the world quiet for the first time in months. My mother reached for my hand, her grip warm. "Thank you for not giving up," she said. My father cleared his throat. "You reminded us what family's supposed to be." "I'm proud of you, Emily." As night fell, I felt something shift, a kind of peace, not the absence of pain, but the presence of strength. Justice had come, not as a moment of glory, but as a long, hard-fought journey back to myself. The town moved on, life resumed, but I was never the same. I'd learned that survival isn't just about weathering storms, it's about choosing, day after day, to seek the light. And for the first time, I believed I truly deserved it. Healing, I discovered, isn't a straight line. It's a winding path of small victories and setbacks, moments of hope and unexpected sorrow. In the weeks after the trial, my days were filled with paperwork and counseling sessions, but also long walks in the park and coffee with Megan. The wounds that Cole and Brianna left behind didn't disappear overnight. Sometimes, I woke from dreams that felt like memories, cold sweat, the sound of my father's voice breaking, my mother's tears echoing in an empty kitchen. But slowly, I found myself reaching for normalcy again. I began painting, filling canvases with colors I'd forgotten I loved. I signed up for a weekend pottery class and, for the first time in years, lost myself in the simple pleasure of creating something with my hands. Megan and I started a book club together, laughing late into the night over stories that had nothing to do with betrayal or family drama. My parents worked to rebuild our relationship, inviting me over for quiet dinners, learning how to listen without judgment. It wasn't always easy. Trust, once broken, is slow to return. But every heartfelt apology, every moment of shared silence, became a brick in the bridge back to each other. Work became less about survival and more about purpose. I found myself drawn to projects that helped others, volunteering at the nonprofit, mentoring young women in my field, speaking at local events about resilience and overcoming adversity. Each time I shared my story, I saw someone in the crowd nod, tears shining in their eyes, and I knew the pain had been worth it if it meant helping even one person reclaim their own narrative. On weekends, I returned to the lakeshore, sitting alone or sometimes with Megan, watching the sun set over the water. The grief was still there, like a scar beneath the surface, but it no longer controlled me. I learned that forgiveness, in the end, wasn't about excusing what Cole and Brianna had done. It was about releasing myself from the weight of their choices. Spring arrived, bringing new life to the garden outside my apartment. I planted roses, red for courage, white for peace. As I knelt in the dirt, hands caked with earth, I realized that healing meant more than recovery. It meant rediscovering the parts of myself I'd neglected, allowing joy back in, and daring to dream again. My story wasn't over. It was just beginning, rebuilt from truth, resilience, and the unwavering belief that no matter how deep the betrayal, life always offers another chance to bloom. If you've listened this far, maybe you've lived through betrayal too. Maybe you know what it's like when your world is turned upside down by people you love, and all you can do is fight for your voice, your truth, your future. I never imagined my life would take this turn, or that the ones I trusted most would be the very people to try to erase me. But I learned that survival isn't just about proving you're right, it's about reclaiming your power, even when it feels impossible. Maybe you're sitting alone tonight, questioning your worth, wondering if justice will ever come. If so, let my story be a reminder you are stronger than you think. Truth matters, even when it hurts. Healing is slow, but every step forward is proof that you're not finished yet. I hope you'll share your story in the comments below. How did you find the courage to stand up for yourself? What advice would you give to someone facing family betrayal or fighting for justice? Let's support each other. Your voice could be the hope that someone else needs right now. Don't forget to subscribe to Heartless Revenge for more true stories of survival, justice, and second chances. Every week, we bring you powerful tales of people who refuse to be silenced, who take control of their own endings. Ring the bell to never miss a new episode. Remember, in a world that sometimes rewards lies, your truth is a gift. Own it. Thank you for being here. This isn't just my ending, it's the beginning for all of us.